Hey there, War Gamers, Justin our Painter here, and today we're going to talk about dice rolls. Alright, so we're back. We threw a handful of dice here, and as you can see, we actually got a pretty decent roll. For Battletech Alpha Strike, a 7, an 8, and a 9 would not be too bad on some average dice rolls, which if you're rolling like I just did, this would be one pair of dice per damage that you'd be rolling an Alpha Strike. If you have seen my most recent battle report, though, where I fielded this fella here, our Atlas, he rolled atrocious. So this guy in our battle report, our game, he was kind of meant to be the leader of my forces. That was kind of the intent of me making him my pilot skill 2 mech. Now, when I play with people, we generally have an agreement ahead of time about how we want the breakdown of our pilot skills to be, and generally we do one pilot skill 2 per side, and then a pilot skill 3 per lance, and then 4s or higher and everything else. It's usually kind of a breakdown like that. Now in this case, this guy was my only skill 2, and I thought for sure this Atlas is going to smash. Now I've got the stats here for what I used for him. Pardon the noise. Let's see. Here he is. We ran the Atlas C, this one right here. So 5 damage at medium range, 5 at short, and of the stuff on my my sheet here, I think he's the highest damage unit I had on my force. Now, I actually fielded 10 mechs. My Battlemaster had a 4, my Stinger had a 1. So yeah, him having a 5 damage, and you're mostly going to be fighting in this mid-range here, and sometimes short, but mostly mid-range. And with the overheat value too, I for sure thought rolling with Pilot Skill 2 with 5 damage up to 7 was going to be super amazing. Lo and behold, this guy rolled so terribly bad it was comical. It was so comical that in the video I did cuts where you could see the full dice tray on screen just to see the severity of how bad his dice rolls were, where he was rolling 5 to 7 damage and missing everything on dice rolls where he didn't even need a high roll, like stuff where he might need less than a 7, which is a below average roll. So it should be a really good chance of him hitting with a lot of it, and he rolled absolutely bad. Now, the funny thing is like this guy's I guess uncle or brother or whatever is Captain Dumpster Fire, or Callsign Dumpster Fire, which is the other Atlas that I own that I've painted, and he tends to, I feel like he does consistently good stuff, like a little bit of dice mojo. But what do you guys do? Now in the game, obviously there are a few ways that you can leverage things to your advantage. Get into range bands that you want to fight in this case medium to short range. Ideally at long range he's only dealing 2 damage, so you want to be in the medium to short. So you pick the range band you want to be in and build around that. So being in the medium range, we've obviously got that +2 right there to hit. He's already pilot skill 2, so that means 4s at a minimum. Picking your targets, so knowing whatever you're shooting at, comparing to their TMMs and making wise choices. On average, a 1 to 2. If you're shooting a lie to 3, but on average a 1 or a 2. So you're looking at 5s to 6s on average at medium range to stuff. Maybe 6s to 7s if they have cover. So one of the ways you can combat the number you need to hit to leverage it in your favor is to try and mitigate cover, pick units you want to leverage that damage against, so you can have the easiest time hitting, and the only shoot are the ones that are going to be harder to hit when you absolutely have to, like if that's a choice. Like when you're choosing between targets, obviously pick the ones that need to go down first, but if you have 2 equally useful targets and one's easier to hit than the other, maybe hitting the easier one to get off the table is good, right? So those are all things that go into determining who you're going to shoot and what your dice rolls need to be. But what do you do if you're rolling these dice and they go cold? What do you do? Now, some people have superstitions and things like that. I have a whole sack of dice. I bring a huge bag of dice with me, and I just grab different pairs of dice and roll them because superstitions. And sometimes you have dice real hot, sometimes they're real cold, and people might be like, well, they're weighted, or the weight distribution's not good. You want to roll my dice? Go for it. And I had that happen in a game once, where, or a game session where guy, I was rolling so terrible with some Star Wars dice, and I handed it to a friend, like, here you go, and he immediately starts rolling criticals with them, right? And I'm just like, see, and, you know, I've been rolling terrible, and then he handed it to him, and he just boom, 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 hit after hit, or crit after crit. It was so bananas. You know, so that happens. You know, it is. You know, there's like 36 different options of 36 different combinations that come up when you roll a pair of dice with, or 2d6. You know, so sometimes you're just going to roll cold. But what do you guys do when you find your dice go cold? I've seen some trolly things where people, you know, they'll rotate dice, retire dice, put dice in the microwave, toss them away, whatever. You know, the dice of shame. But what do you do when your dice legitimately feel like they're running cold? Obviously, you're doing the best things you can to make good dice roll decisions and to mitigate the stuff to stack it in your favor, right? You're doing that. But what are your superstitions? What do you do when you're trying to get your dice mojo back? Yeah, I'd be curious to know. And do you have any stories of crazy things that have happened with your dice, where you're running cold, and then all of a sudden, boom, you turn around and you get a crit out of nowhere, and that helps make up for all the bad dice rolls? Or do you have games where just like a certain pair of dice always roll notoriously bad? Now, I think we all have that, but I'd be curious to know how that has translated into your games, the narratives that you've forged, and what you've done to combat dice rolls when they go cold. Alternatively, on the other side, if you have just super hot streaks, how do you deal with your opponents? What do you do? Like, is it funny? Is it comical? Do they get frustrated? What do you do when you're on a hot streak and your dice rolls are just, you know, on fire? So I'd love to hear about that in the comments below. Let me know about your dice roll stories and glories and woes, and let me know about your superstitions. As always, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Make sure you check out the people that support the channel, Monument Hobbies, Fortress Miniatures, as well as Death Ray Designs. And as always, thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you have an awesome day. Look forward to seeing your comments, and I will catch you guys next time.